if you could be compared in some capacity to Marino, Rodgers, and Favre, you got to be doing something right. What does Patrick Mahomes need to do against this Jaguars defense to have success this weekend?
Well, I think he's going to need to show all the skill sets that he's shown to this point in the season through the first 4 weeks. I mean, you've seen the accuracy and velocity on display. Remind you of Marino, that throw that he had to Travis Kelce up the seam in the first quarter against the Steelers game, putting it on the back shoulder of your tight end, keeping him away from the safety. That's a big-time throw. When we saw on Monday night, being able to improvise, being able to throw the ball with his left hand because he couldn't square his shoulders and throw it with his right when Von Miller was chasing him, rolling out to his left. Or how about on 2nd and 30, being able to throw that 23-yard pass to DeMarcus Robinson. Those are those off-schedule plays that we see from Aaron Rodgers. So when you start talking about those quarterbacks and comparing them, you can actually point to specific plays and see those attributes on display. So Pat Mahomes is going to have to bring a lot of that against this Jacksonville Jaguars defense because they get after it like no other defense will. To me, personnel-wise, the best defense in the National Football League. They're the #1 scoring defense in the National Football League. So this is going to be the first big test for that Kansas City Chiefs offense.
And he set the record for the last decade on passing yards outside of the pocket in that Monday Night Football game. That would worry me if that were the path to victory for the Chiefs this weekend. Because the Jags, I think, are better equipped because of that personnel than any other team in the league to keep him in the pocket, and they are just as well equipped as any team in the league to do damage to his body if he leaves the pocket and tries to do what he has been so successful at. Now, I'm not saying he would eliminate that from his game entirely, but this is a game where, A, Kareem Hunt is going to have to be the 2 to the 1-2 punch, and B, on Mahomes' side, he's going to have to dial it up from the pocket. Now, he's been great inside the pocket. Just so many of his highlights have been on the escapability plays, on the plays running around.
I'm going to address not necessarily against the Jags defense, but what Bill Polian, what he was talking about. Because Dan Marino's my guy, man. Dan Marino was in college, recruited me to go to Pitt. Man, I wanted to go to Pitt. It was after Dan. Dan was going to be gone. John and I ended up being good friends. So I've been knowing Dan for so many years. And people just forget. People think about Dan Marino. They talk about he's got a strong arm. But Dan was so accurate. Dan was one of the first guys that would hit you in stride. Dan Fouts before him, then Dan Marino. Yards after the catch became very big. Then Dan had knee injuries and Achilles injury. So Dan, he lost his mobility. But his accuracy, he didn't lose that in the pocket. So when Bill Polian throws these types of names and makes comparisons, Bill Polian, man, he's my Hall of Fame buddy. Bill Polian does not give out compliments like that. He is not walking down the hallway and you get a compliment, and you get a compliment, and you get a compliment. I just think it's really important that we emphasize who this is, a Hall of Fame general manager who one day had to make that decision between Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning, and it was not a no-brainer. I know one of them's career went this way. We know Ryan Leaf, a friend of the show, what he went through. But in that, he did make the critical decision, and he did choose the right guy. He's in the Hall for picking talent. So when someone starts to say things like that, either I look to try to tear it apart or I try to look to gain some credibility when what he said. That's what we're looking at with Dan Marino when he partnered with one of the greats in Don Shula. And that's what we believe that he's getting there with Andy Reid. I know Andy Reid, people talk about his game management. People talk about his lack of overall playoff success. But look what he's done when he's gotten a quarterback. And look at the type of offenses that he's run with even mediocre or less than talented quarterbacks. So for me, I think that it's really important to highlight Bill Polian as a Hall of Fame talent picker. This is what he says about Patty Mahomes.
Well, the one thing that Polian really was focused on were his attributes for Patrick Mahomes: accuracy, velocity, improvisation, that ability to do all those things. What doesn't he do well besides sustainability? Besides, can he do this over a period of time? Besides, can he help his team win when they are down and all of it? What else does he have to do?
Well, I think he's going to have to see a lot more football. I mean, it's impossible for Pat Mahomes to have all the answers because he's only got 5 regular season starts. So he's got to get that experience, but I think he's passed every test thus far. And when you saw what the Denver Broncos did in their game plan, they didn't give him the first read in that game for the majority of the game. He had to go off script, and you saw him do that in that fourth quarter. So I think that was a big hurdle for him to get past. Now with this Jacksonville Jaguars defense, I'm agreeing with Nick on this one. I think the offense has to go through Kareem Hunt, and I think Pat Mahomes has to win from the pocket just because of the athleticism of that defense. I don't know if I want him living outside of the pocket against this group of guys. If you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they typically struggle when they have an offense that has balance. When they're able to run the football, that's when that defense struggles. So, I mean, I don't necessarily want to go into this game and become a one-dimensional offense because I think you create opportunities for that Jacksonville Jaguars defense to be opportunistic and create turnovers.
What we want to see moving forward, Jenna, and Canty's saying this, we want to see some patience. He showed that in the Denver game. Sammy Watkins injured in the game, put in someone to replace him. Kelsey, not a great first half. Didn't get him the football. Second half, he became the featured part of that offense. So spreading the ball around, wherever the defense is going to allow him to throw it. Young quarterbacks don't do that well. So he needs to do the same thing that we need to do with Patty Mahomes. We need to be patient with him, too. Because, yes, Bill Polian, he's right. But let's be patient. I remember Marino in his first year, Rodgers in his first year. Like, let's be patient and allow him the same thing he's got to do when going against one of the best defenses. Be patient. Let the game come to him. We know he's put up tremendous numbers, but just let the flow of the game come to him. And I think that we're going to see him grow. And he's a special football player.
And the reason why Pat Mahomes right now is a great story, but not always a great topic, long form for shows like this, is the only criticism that exists right now is hasn't done it long enough. And he hasn't had the opportunity to.
Yeah.
I've watched every throw he's made in his career. It's not like there's a bunch of, oh, that should have been picked, that could have been picked, got lucky there. Not a whole bunch of, oh, his receiver bailed him out there. It is high velocity, high degree of difficulty, pinpoint accurate throws made under duress very often. And he's doing it against Monday night on the road, national television, Von Miller and Bradley Chubb there. He did in the game against the Steelers where he had to match him score for score. Like, everything he's been asked to do, he's done with flying colors.
And I remember a lot like Bill Polian, and I have to go back to a guy, and it's Randy Moss. Because I remember, because Denny Green said, Cris, who is he? I said, man, he's a combination. He's Jerry Rice when he catches the ball. He's James Lofton with the deep speed. He's also Lynn Swann. He's like Lynn Swann. I was like, yeah, he plays well off the ground when the ball's in the air. And Denny believed me, but other people, they thought I was just saying stuff just to be saying stuff. But that's who Randy Moss was. He was a combination of some of the greatest receivers that we ever, and at this point in his career, I still had to tell people he's going to get better. Patty Mahomes is going to get better. So I like the fact Bill Polian pointed out those great players that we've seen even modern day. And this is just the beginning.
And that's, by the way, real quick on that, that is an important point because everyone says defenses are going to catch up. They're going to get more film. That's all true. But it's not as if he's not going to continue to improve.
He as well is
so
going
while
to
the
improve.
Defense continues to get film and information on him, he's going to improve as well, even if the numbers, I mean, I don't think he's going to have 56 touchdowns and 0 picks, which is what he's on pace for, but
who knows?
He's a quarter of the way there.
Yeah, only weakness, Jenna, is his voice. I'm going to set up something. I'm going to set up something and kill that frog he's got in his throat and everything. The only weakness he's got is his voice, not real.
No, I
think in a couple years he'll realize he didn't like his haircut this year.
Oh, well, no.
Wow.
Yeah. How dare you?
No,
he got
the voice is fine. Oh, he's got a sharp voice. You're right, C. The hair, Jenna, you're the worst.
The voice is a real...
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.